Good morning. I needed some great music or something to accompany that, like a swell, like some superhero music. No? Okay. Listen, it's early for me too. I got up really early and I put on lashes just for y'all. Thank you. Anybody else put on any lashes? No lashes? Nobody put on lashes? Did you put on mascara? Sir, I'm so glad you didn't raise your hand. Okay, so thank you so much, Deborah, for having me back. Is this like my 550th time being here, Deborah? I need to, just so I get the temperature of the room, and I don't mean those of us who are in menopause. I don't mean that kind of temperature. Anybody in menopause? You don't have to wave your hand. Just do like this and I'll know who you are. By applause, how many people have been here before? Been to the wonderful, you've been here before. Good. By applause, how many of you have not been here before? Some of you clapped twice, or I can't count. I'm asking you that because I may tell some of the same stories because I got good ones. And here's the deal. My story is my gift, and I'll get into that in just a moment. I'd already talked about how early it was. I already talked about menopause. I've got it all laid out. I tell you, this early, it's early. So I want to just piggyback on something that Deborah said about the yeses and the nos. Wasn't that powerful? You know, I want you to really let that seep in, that I think you are as defined by your yeses as you are by your nos. And when you say no to things, you create more space for other yeses, right? So I'd like to say no to something right now. No, I'm not going to give you my telephone number. No. Circle and a slash, no. Deborah, what are you going to do in all these? How many people are here today? They're all going to call you. That's okay. She said you're all going to give her bottles of champagne. Just say yes to that. So yes, thank you, Ms. Vargas, for reading that wonderful, illustrious list of things that I have done and been and experienced. I have been in show business for over 30 years. Yes, I have. Yes, I'm posing. Yes. You think I'm posing. Actually, this is just the tick that you get after you turn 50. This is just a tick. And I'm most known for a hit TV show that I was on called Living Single, where I got to work with Queen Latifah, UNITY. Do you know who that is? And a bunch of other amazing people. And I'm so blessed that I have my own sitcom catchphrase. My character, who is named Sinclair, and for those of you who may not have seen the show, and I'm not going to make you clap to see if you've seen the show, we were kind of like the Black Friends. I would be the Phoebe character, lovable and a little off. But my character's sitcom catchphrase was "woo woo woo." Do you know that? But somebody applaud if you know what I'm talking about. So I'll explain it. So 3 of you know. Okay, good. So woo 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 meant I see you, I acknowledge you, I got your back, it's gonna be okay. Woo woo woo. It's something that my mother used to say to me and my baby brother when words would fail her. Oh woo woo woo. I don't know what to say. I know you fell down and hurt your knee. Woo woo woo. Now we'll put some of that stuff on your knee that stings. Remember that stuff? Bacitracin, mercurochrome. Who's old enough to remember the mercurochrome? What was that toxic orange stuff? Is it still around? Mercurochrome? But it made you feel better, didn't it? It did. These are the stories that I'm going to share with you today. My story is my gift. Here's what I know for sure. My story is my gift. And your story is your gift too. I have some wonderful stories of working on Living Single, stories of working with Queen Latifah, stories of, listen, I had a love interest on the show. To kiss him and get paid for it was my delight. Like, we gotta do this? Okay. I'm an actor, I have to prepare. It wasn't about learning the lines, it was about making sure I smelled fresh. But I've come to understand over the years that my story is my gift, and yours is too. And we have stories that range from the yucky to the yummy, right? We all have these yucky and yummy stories. And I hope by the time I'm done talking a little bit, I can talk to you about how you can shift the perspective on some of your yucky stories. What you need to understand is your stories are your stories. They're not you. They're just your stories, and they make up the mosaic of all the yumminess that you are. And you can take those yucky stories and shift the perspective and turn them into yummy lessons, because that's what I do, because that feels like a much better yes. The other is more of a no. So I was a Girl Scout. Do we have any Girl Scouts in the room? Great. Do we have any cookies in the room? Is the cookie time over? It's over. Man, they're selling them outside of grocery stores now, the little pushers they are. They're little pushers. Yes, I'll have 17 boxes of Thin Mints to go. And then I put them in the freezer, and I put them way in the back. Who does that? In the back of the freezer, and you forget that they're there. Come July, you have a delicious frozen Thin Mint. It's a good life. By the way, when I was a Girl Scout, this is before that you didn't you had to pre-order them. There was no supply, no pushing outside of grocery stores. You had to order them in advance. And I love that. I grew up in Brooklyn, like the old Brooklyn, not the fancy Brooklyn now. Like Brooklyn's just so fancy now. I liked it when it was a little hard and Scrabble. You weren't sure if you were going to live or die every time you walked out. It was great. It made me scrappy. My Girl Scout leaders were Puerto Ricans. Y'all don't have Puerto Ricans here. You're missing out on the... Oh, honey, when it came time to sell the cookies, come on, mommy, come on. We got to make that money, honey. Come on, let's make that money. Why you not pushing the cookies, King Calls? That was her sales speech. We got emboldened and we sold more cookies, yes. She would throw badges at us. Look, you took the subway today? Here's a subway badge. Stop asking me for badges. Oh, my God. Leave me alone. Come on, let's sell those cookies. Make that money. Stories. So I would go to Girl Scout camp in the summertime. And I remember this one particular year, they explained to us that there's no two people who are just alike. Just like snowflakes. There are no two snowflakes, which is just like mind-blowing. But to hear that there were no two people that were just alike was not only mind-blowing for me, it was actually very upsetting to me. Because I needed at that time to feel connected in the world, because I felt so different and weird and unusual. Like I was a girl and I was a girly girl, but dolls bored me. What do they do? How many times can I pretend that Barbie got married to Ken? And Ken was kind of funny looking to me because things weren't really anatomically correct. And I knew that as a child. I was disturbed. I wanted to watch TV, and so I watched a lot of TV, and I felt different than my girlfriends. Let's play doll. I don't want to play with the dolls. I want to watch Lost in Space. By the way, I was the little black girl who thought, I went to my parents and said, Mommy, Daddy, listen, they have a white family in outer space. We need to be the first black family in space. Let's do this. And like, Kimberly, that's a TV show. I know, but we can make it happen. Who do we need to call it? NASA. My mother said, my daughter's weird. And I was. So I found out that we were each different, and it was disturbing to me because I thought, if I'm so weird and unusual, who will I ever connect to and connect with? Not knowing at that time that is the secret sauce. What makes you different, what makes you a little weird, what gives you your awesomeness is your awesome sauce. And now we call that authenticity. Who knew? You are authentic. You're not weird. You're not different. You just think outside the box. You build your own box. That's revered now. Had no idea. See how I made it turn from yucky to yummy in just a moment. We have other stories in our lives. We tell ourselves these stories too. Maybe your mother always ... fill in the blank. Maybe your father never ... fill in the blank. Mrs. So-and-so, the neighbor down the street, was always so. And we have these stories that make up who we are, but they're not who we are. You can shift that anytime you decide. It's your choice. It's the way you say yes instead of no to yourself in a very, very powerful way. The reason why I know that my story is my gift, and by the way, if you think that I haven't purchased that URL, then you don't know me. MyStoryIsMyGift.com. Your story is your gift because your story matters. Your story connects. Mama needs to stay in the light. Hold on. An actress always knows where her light is, here. Anybody else who's speaking, do not stand here, but you can come and stand here. Feel that? Do that in life, everybody. Stand in your light. Literally and figuratively stand in your zone of genius. I don't need to be here. What's happening here? Ain't nothing happening here. Ain't nothing Listen, I'm demonstrating it to you now. Where in your life were you standing up and through here and can't nobody see you? Can nobody hear you? Can nobody connect to you? I know I'm sounding like I'm speaking Ebonics. Remember the Ebonics? But here is where it all matters, where it's wonderful, where I'm not. Yes, you get it. Okay, good. Let your life be like this. Let your life be like this. Your story matters. Your story engages. Your story teaches. Your story warns. Your story pulls people in. Your story pushes people to do the things you need them to do, whether it's buy your product or whether it's getting your kid to eat the broccoli. Use your stories to do all of that. I'll tell you a couple of stories now, and I've told this one before. I was a weird kid, as you know already, and I really wanted to go to the High School for the Performing Arts, which is known as the Fame School. Do you guys remember that show, Fame, and the movie Fame? I want to live forever. That's a real place, a real school. And at 14 years old, I decided that's the high school I need to go to because I had been watching so much TV. As I told you, I'm a child of TV. I wanted to be Carol Burnett. I wanted to be, Lucille Ball. I wanted to be Flip Wilson, sort of. I wanted to be Bill Cosby before Bill took a turn. I wanted to be... By the way, I got to give him his props. He's a great storyteller. That was his jam. We don't know what his jam is now, but that's another story. And I thought that if I went to that high school, I could learn how to do all those things. And I remember going down and standing in line because you had to actually audition to get. Can you imagine auditioning to get into a high school? The pressure, the worry, the worryation. And I stood in line and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know that I needed a monologue. Who has a monologue at 14 unless you've been going to drama school all your life? And that's what was in line. Those kids were like those Broadway kids, like those sun will come out tomorrow, like those kids. And they were standing in line and they were stretching and vocalizing, me. And I'm just a girl from Brooklyn who says, I think that I want to go here because I think you got something to teach me and I think that you... And I was so intimidated that I left. I went and stood here in the non-light. I love that I'm making the stage work. You think this was planned? This was not planned. How could it be planned? I chickened out and I left. But I knew somewhere in my soul that I belonged someplace special, not because I thought I was special. I told you I thought I was weird. I knew that I was going to get beat up at the school I was zoned to go to. It was a tough, a rough and tumble school. I think they handed out knives, switchblades, the first day of school. Like, here are your textbooks, here's your switchblade, good luck. I knew I wasn't gonna last because I was terribly corny. I knew in my brain I needed to go someplace special, and so I took a test to go to a specialized school, and the school was called Brooklyn Technical High School, and it was a school that you had to be really smart to get in, and to this day I have no idea how I got in. But I passed the test just enough to get in. And here was a school full of egghead, weird, pencil-protecting kids. That's my jam. Those are the places that's where I needed to be. That was my powerful yes. And because they were weird, pencil-protecting kids, they weren't really socially, they weren't, they were nerds. But I was a nerd with a little promise. And so a nerd with just a little bit of promise, a little bit of sass can rule the other nerds. I ruled all the nerds. I was class president all 4 years. I was on the cheering squad. I was the secretary of the twirlers, yes. I ruled the other kids, and the whole thing is that I stepped into my zone of genius. I stepped into my light, because over here was not where I was going to jam. Over here was where I belonged. See how I made the story work? I turned it from something yucky into something yummy. You can do that too. Where do you have a story of something that was not the way you needed it to be, or it didn't turn out the way you thought it would, or someone did you wrong? How many of us have those did me wrong stories? Those people did you a favor. When you look at it from that perspective, that person who did you wrong, whosoever they are, they did you a favor. My husband always says this thing where we ask God or we ask the universe, like, why did you give me this problem? Why did you give me this pain? It's not fair that I have this. Like, how come I'm the one that has to, and like I always say, fill in the blank, ... My husband always says that maybe God gave it to you for a reason. That yucky thing that happened, I'm just calling all the stuff yucky, whatever it is. You know what it is in your life that's uncomfortable or was a horrible experience. It was given to you so that you could transmute it and then help others. No one else on this stage is going to say the word whosoever and then transmute with it a few minutes later. I'm just letting you know that. It's part of your story. And it happened to you and it happened for you to take and transform and transmute and help others by sharing your story. People need to bear witness to how strong you are, to how much of a survivor you are. No matter what anybody tells you, you are a survivor. What anybody tells you, you are the superhero of your story. I'm going to give you 3 ways. Well, it's actually a system that I have for teaching people how to go through their stories and how to shift the perspective. Every story has 3 major things: challenge, choice, consequence. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful. Good night. No. That's all you need. Every story has a challenge, a choice, and a consequence. My challenge was, I can't go to that high school where the people are going to where the little kids are going to beat me up. My choice was, I'm going to go do this, try to audition for this other school over here. Oh, they're not going to let me in. Okay, I've got a whole nother choice, and my choice is to go to this other school and take this test, and I may or may not get in, but at least at least I'll be more comfortable because they're nerds. They're not stabbing anybody. Maybe they're stabbing people with their I don't know, their protractors or something. It was a technical school. Their T-squares. I literally had to take, okay, it's a long story. And the consequence was I found my home. I found the place where I was supposed to be, ruling the nerds. Every one of you has 1,000 stories in you that you just have to look at your challenge, your choice, and your consequence. And then you form a brand new conclusion. And even if it's a yucky story, you can take it and turn it around. You've heard this said before. There's the MSU University, Life University is make stuff up. Sometimes they say stuff, sometimes they use a different word. Doesn't matter, it's make stuff up, make it work for you. I have a story that is a little yucky. I have an auntie who used to, when I was a little girl, she would tell me tell me the legend of who I reminded her of, this legend, this beautiful Princess Pita. And Princess Pita was a beautiful Native American princess. And she was a warrior princess. And she had long, flowing hair. And every little black girl, that's all she really wants is the long, flowing hair. Because that's what the commercials tell you you're supposed to have. My hair don't do that. My hair does this. But we wanted that. And she was a beautiful Native American princess, and she was smart, and she could run faster than the boys, and she was the only daughter of the chief, and she was not allowed to be the chief of the tribe because they didn't let women do that. And my aunt is telling me this story, and it's amazing. And every time we would meet, because we would have these family reunions, she would tell me another installment in the story of Princess Pita on the plains with the wind blowing, whoosh. And she could ride the horses faster than the boys and shoot the arrows. And she was wonderful because her father had taught her to be all these things, but the tribe wasn't going to let her rise to be the chiefess or the chief or the head of the tribe, the tribunal, you know what I'm trying to say, the lady in charge. Princess Pita, she said, you remind me of Princess Pita. And the stories would go on. And at some point as a teenager, I wasn't listening to stories about being Princess Peeta, although I would go and buy the long hair, let it blow in the wind. In my late 20s, my aunt and I had a conversation. I said, do you remember the stories of Princess Peeta? And she began to laugh. I'm like, oh, Aunt Inez, those stories were so fun. And she was laughing a little too hard. What are you still laughing? What are you laughing? She said, I never told you. Yeah, you told me the story of Princess Peeta. She said, no, I never told you the meaning. Yes, you told me the meaning. She's a warrior princess. No, it was Peeta, pain in the ass. What? Wait, let me go stand here. That as a little girl, I asked too many questions. I told you I was weird. I was annoying. She said she just named me Princess Pain in the Ass, and she told me these stories, and then she would tell me to go and write the stories. What a terrible, yucky story that this thing that I thought meant this thing really meant this thing. And I decided not to be angry at her because it was so creative. And my mother was livid, like, you told her what that story meant. Like, no, I get it. It's a beautiful lesson of how I was being a pain in the you-know-what, and how she told this story and made it mean something wonderful. And so you get to do that. You get to MSU, make stuff up in your life. You get to say yes to your life. You get to say yes to your stories. You get to say yes to all of it. Take it, shift it, turn it on its side, and know that your story is a gift just like my story is a gift as well. Thank you so much. Challenge, choice, consequence, and the conclusion is we're going to have the rest of the day is going to be awesome. Thank you so much. Deborah just told me that my time is up. I'm going to stand here in the light till she comes. Thank you.